So maybe we can just start one at a time and maybe start in the upper body. You mentioned the elbow. So maybe answer for us, what are the common elbow injuries that happen? And if someone's listening to this that is suffering from one of those, then we can kind of break it down, what to do about it and how to get back to safety, so whoever wants to answer,
So as we discussed earlier, I'm the talker between the two of us.
I didn't notice.
And so, I'll definitely, in the elbow, there are two common injuries that are common to both tennis and pickleball. I think that when I was speaking with someone earlier this year about, why they loved pickleball, they said, oh, it's great because I don't get injured. And then later on down the line, they were like, actually, we do get injured. It's just, again, that lower barrier to entry, and it may take longer for that injury to set in because there's not as much required for the sport, right? For those who've never played, the court itself is like half the size of a tennis court. Most of the game, especially with, really competitive people, is going to be played very close to what they call the kitchen, which is that front square. So rectangle, really. So you're not moving around a whole lot. And I have a friend who plays, and he's probably, they rate pickleball players on a scale of 1 to 5, and he's probably, pro level, even though he wouldn't say so. And this guy, he does not have to move his feet. He will just plant his feet. He does not have to move once he's at that kitchen, and he can just handle the paddle and angle it in the right ways to get the ball to hit right where you're not standing. So that's why, the people who get really good at it, they love it because, yes, there is maybe less injuries overall once you get really good at it, but as you're first getting into it and you maybe are hitting the ball harder than you need to, you are swinging your arm more than you need to because you're used to the idea of tennis, not pickleball, then that's where those injuries will come in. So in the elbow, like we said, there is a medial and lateral side of your elbow. Medial being the inside. If you were holding your arm out in front of you, palm up, that's going to be the inside of your elbow. Lateral is going to be the outside of your elbow. So I'll talk about the lateral injury, and then I'll let Dr. B talk about the medial since it's also a common golf injury. Laterally, the outside of the elbow injury is going to be where most of your, what we call wrist extensors attach to your common extensor tendon. So any of the muscles that lift your hand backwards are going to be there. And when you're playing pickleball or tennis, you're mostly going to use that when you're doing a backhand swing, okay? You're not supposed to use it, though. People end up using it because they lack control of their shoulder blade, actually. I'll educate people that just like your core is the powerhouse of your body, that's what people will say, and that's where all your power and force comes from. For your arm, that is your shoulder blade, or your scapula for a more technical term. When you move your arm in any way, your shoulder blade should be initiating that movement, and it should be continually moving with you. So in that backhand, you should have started it with your shoulder blade already in a down and retracted position, down and back. And then as you swing that paddle, you should be continually squeezing that shoulder blade further so the power is coming from your shoulder blade. However, like I said, most people get out of practice of that, and they'll start to overuse their wrist itself. So on that backswing, they'll hit the ball and then use the wrist to add the power rather than using the shoulder blade. I get it. I do it myself too whenever I'm first learning pickleball right now. But when you learn to control that shoulder blade, it's not only going to reduce your pain, you're going to notice that you get more power than you ever could have out of your wrist.
I was just about to say, I feel like not only is it a better way, it's a much more efficient way as well. If you actually think about the power production, that's happening there. Because if you're just your wrist, like look at this little bit of range of motion I have from my wrist. If you're relying on just this wrist, you might get some spin on it. Right. You're not getting any speed or power.
Right.
Right. And do you even want the spin?
I don't know. Well, yes, you want. Yeah, no, yes. I do not want the spin.
As the person receiving the ball, no, I don't want you to spin on that.
Yeah, but it makes total sense that your arm as a whole can create so much more power
Correct.
than just the wrist.
Correct. So, common signs of that people might notice outside of pickleball when that outside, that lateral portion of your elbow is hurting. If you are gripping something really tight, you're lifting your groceries, you might have pain there at that point on the outside of your elbow. If you're writing, writing with a pencil, if you're typing and you type a lot on the computer, those are common things that you might start to notice. Hey, the outside of my elbow is hurting, and oh yeah, I just started playing pickleball about a month ago. Maybe I should call Elevated PT.
Oh yeah. So it sounds like half of this is going to be half of making this better is going to be practicing the movement itself.
Correct.
Is that right?
Well, it's going to be first learning how to isolate those muscles, because when you haven't talked to your shoulder blade in a while, you forget how to do it. When you're trying to use that shoulder blade and depress it, push it down, you may cheat with your latissimus muscle. You may cheat with your back, doing back arching, extension, rather than strictly using your lower trapezius to pull that shoulder blade down. So first we have to get you to understand how to do the movement isometrically without compensating with other muscles. Then we go into, okay, now let's use that to move, and you have to continually isometrically contract that muscle as you're moving. Now that you can move with no resistance and not hitting something, now let's add in hitting something or add some resistance. And each of those steps, it's probably going to be a little bit of a regression. You forget how to use your muscle again, but you build it back up and you move on to the next step.
Do you have any tips on how to start making that happen? Let's say I'm going to having this, or even if let's talk about injury prevention now, even if I don't have this, but what you said just resonated with me. Like what should I do to start practicing and start to feel that shoulder blade working, and how do I work it isometrically, by itself?
Totally. Easiest exercise that you can start with is going to be scapular retractions, okay? And if you're watching this on YouTube, then you'll be able to see what I'm doing. If you're not, then go watch it on YouTube.
Yes. Amazing. What a plug. What a plug, Sean. Yeah.
But what you're going to go ahead and do is, usually when I tell people to squeeze their shoulder blades, it's going to look like this. They're squeezing like up and back, right?
Okay.
And you can see Dr. Cameron doing it as well. But what we want to get you to do is, I'll always start with, okay, instead of squeezing first, I want you to first focus on pushing your shoulder blades down away from your ears, okay? You should feel muscles right below your shoulder blades contracting, all right? Then once you're pushing down, now you may squeeze just enough that you feel your chest open up. You don't have to squeeze super hard and now you're arching your back to compensate, just enough that you feel your chest opening up. You can also think about it like kiss the bottom corners of your shoulder blade together. Do not kiss the top corners together, which is what most people do. So that is the easiest way to get started learning how to isometrically contract your shoulder blade in the way that it should move for pickleball, in the way that it should move for really any of your shoulder movement.